What's going down, everybody? Jared RedRacer video. Thanks for joining me for another one today, guys. Hey, if you guys have known me very long, you know I'm a Camaro guy, you know I'm a Chevy guy, but you also know that I try to be completely unbiased in all of my videos and all of my observations and just everything I do. I don't believe in just being a total homer and being ignorant to the facts. So today's video, guys, we are jumping into something that's going to be a little bit controversial for a Camaro guy like myself to converse about. We are talking about the 2020 Ford Mustang GT500. I know you guys have probably seen it floating around the internet. You've probably seen a little bit about it. I did a little bit of digging and I wanted to decide for myself, should Camaro owners, and even Corvette owners probably for that matter, be worried about the Ford Mustang GT500 they have coming out in 2020? So we're going to jump into that and we're doing it right now. Once again, everybody, thanks for joining me for another one. If this is your first time on the channel, this is a channel about car stuff. If you haven't already figured that out, I'm a car guy. We talk about car stuff. Camaros, Corvettes, trucks, Cadillacs, Mustangs, Challengers, whatever it might be, I like to talk about them all. I've always been a car guy. I've always been to all kinds of stuff. And I try not to be blindly ignorant to the facts. So on this channel, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Primarily my 2016 1SS twin-turbo Camaro Lola that I firmly believe is the baddest Camaro out there. I think she's got a lot of stuff ahead of her, a lot of big things, and I can't wait to go put her through her paces to show you guys all that stuff. But on this channel, we're also going to talk about a lot of stuff like this, the 2020 Ford Mustang GT500. So if you guys like cars, like car channels, if you like Street Speed, Guitarmageddon, whoever those guys might be, I think you might like this channel. So please, I'd love to have you guys stick around, hit the like button, go down, hit subscribe, and be sure you hit the bell next to subscribe so you guys know when I have new content. But like I mentioned at the beginning, guys, today we were talking about the Ford Mustang GT500, the 2020 Ford Mustang GT500. Big stuff coming from Ford. You know, Ford's slowly but surely kind of come around, in my opinion, to building a good all-around car. Really quick, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I'm going to talk about Dodge for a second. Dodge is still selling a lot of Challengers, and that boggles my brains. It's hard for me to understand how people keep going and spending new car money on a 10-year-old chassis that, for all intents and purposes, doesn't get anything more than a couple of new tech gadgets, and they throw more power at it, put some wide body fenders on it and give it a different name, and they get a whole bunch of people lined up to spend a bunch more money on them. So I'm not knocking the guys that are doing that. Well, yeah, I am. I'm kind of knocking them. I don't get it. I don't understand it. They're one-trick ponies. They do one thing. They go straight fast. They don't break good. They don't turn good. And I know the guys that own them, and go ahead in the comments, guys, hit me down below. I know the guys that are going to own them, they're going to say, well, if you had one, you actually drove it. They actually handle okay. Yeah, they handle okay compared to like an Accord. But if you're comparing the Hellcat or the Demon or the Hellcat Red Eye, if you're comparing those cars to the Camaro ZL1, the Camaro ZL11LE, the Ford Mustang GT350, and now the GT500, they just don't add up. They just don't compare. You know, they've got the nostalgia. I get it. They've got the retro looks. They go fast in a straight line. They are cool cars, but they just don't make a well-rounded car. Ford has been changing that in recent years. Ford's been coming around. They went to independent rear suspension. They made the GT350 that was a bruiser on the track. Sounded kind of lame in my opinion. I really don't like that flat plane V8, the flat plane crank V8. I don't like the sound. I've been around a couple of them, and I just think they sound ridiculous. Like, I like loud cars, but it's just not my thing. Ford at least is getting it. They're starting to want to make a car that'll dance. They make a car, they built that car specifically for the track. And I've had a lot of people that have driven them, and they really, really enjoy them. That's a cool car. You know, all the way down to like carbon fiber wheels and all kinds of things they've done dramatic to make that car work. And now here we have a 2020 GT500. And I do have notes in front of me here that I'll refer to as we go, because I want to make sure I don't get any information incorrect or give you guys any bad info. But I mean, this car appears to be the way to go. I mean, I don't want to say that it's better than a Camaro by any stretch, because, you know, I think that the proof is in the pudding, and until these cars come out, get tracked, get used, I don't think you can actually accurately call it anything. But at least on paper, Ford's got it figured out. They've got the same 5.2 liter V8 that the GT350 has, the Voodoo V8, but with some changes. You know, from doing some reading, they're not actually going to keep that flat plane crank V8. It's actually going to be more of like a mid-plane V8. So I don't think it's going to have the same note that the GT350 and GT350Rs had. It's also got a big old blower. It's actually sharing a blower with the Corvette, that same rotor pack anyway, that's in the Corvette. So it's got a big old blower on it. It's got the 2650 blower on it. The difference in the engine, like I mentioned, the crank is going to be different. So it's not going to have the same noises that the Voodoo engine had. There's additional cooling. So they've done some stuff with it to help them cool better. The heads are different. Some of the seals and things are different. So it's the same 5.2 liter block essentially, but with some changes. And from what I can gather, that engine, or that block rather, is actually going to make its way down into the 350 as soon as this comes out too. So I'd imagine they're going to keep the flat plane crank V8 in that engine, so it'll still have that sound, still be what you guys are expecting that way. But the engine, you know, they've made some changes and made it boost ready, guys, and it's running like 12 pounds of boost. They're saying it's going to be north of 700 horsepower. It's going to run a mid 3 second 0 to 60, which is fast, and it's going to run a 11-second quarter mile. So, you know, it's probably going to be like a high 11 or mid 11, but it's going to be in the 11s on the quarter mile. I'm guessing Ford's not overstating like Dodge did. Dodge lied to everybody and told them that car would run a 9.6 and it wouldn't. You know, power numbers, okay, maybe they're okay, but nobody's making them run what they claim. And I think that Ford, at least to recent date, hasn't had that problem. So on paper, this car is going to be legit. It's all the way down to the aero. You know, they've stolen a bunch of pages out of the Chevrolet 1LE, the Chevrolet Camaro ZL11LE handbook. They got a bunch of aero on it, big old front bumper opening, nice big wing on the back. And from what I can gather, those things are actually options. There's a different carbon fiber package that gives you carbon fiber wheels and all the carbon fiber spoilers and things like that. I don't know what the base GT500, not that it's very base, but I don't know what the base GT500 will have in the way of aero. I don't know if it's going to have those same big wings and things. They didn't really dive into that. But they seem like they're making this thing ready for track. Not only with power, not only with aero, but the suspension's beefed up pretty good too. The shocks, I was kind of surprised to see they're actually going to stick with a mag ride shock. So that's not a bad shock, and that's not a bad way to go. But most of the guys that are doing the hard racing are doing the DSSV shocks, so spool valve shocks, that tend to be a little bit better for your hardcore track use. So there's kind of a fine line the manufacturers have to dance when they build these cars. They don't want to make it just like a track car, because let's be honest, a lot of people that buy these cars never even see a track. They look good, they look good, they sound good, and they want one, so they buy it. And the majority of those people, maybe not a majority, but a lot of those people are never going to see a track. So I kind of see where Ford was going with that. They kind of had to do the street car thing, keep it pliable, you know, keep it so that it would be comfortable to drive on the street. Mag ride shocks are no slouch. They are good. But for those guys that are really going to hardcore go out and track these cars and really using competitive stuff, those are probably going to come off the mag ride. You know, most people either switch from a mag ride to a spool valve like the Camaro ZL11LE has, the DSSV stuff. And even at that, I've seen guys that pull the DSSV stuff off of the Chevrolet Camaro ZL11LE and go to something a little better, like a Detroit Speed double adjustable, like I just so happen to run on my car. Nonetheless, the mag ride is a solid setup, and it shows that Ford is pretty dedicated, and you know they want to make this track thing work. They've got bigger, stiffer sway bars. They've got stiffer springs, and then from what I can gather here, the cooling on them is immense. They have got 8 different coolers on them, a couple for the supercharger, some for the oil, some for the rear diff, AC. I mean, you've got a lot of different things you need to cool, but Ford went hard on the track stuff as far as cooling and things like that go. So this car is not just a glorified GT350. I kind of expected just to see it be a GT350 Voodoo engine with a blower on it, but it looks like Ford probably messed with that a little bit and decided that that flat plane crank V8 just wasn't the best way to go for boost. So they changed the crank out, changed some of the cooling structure of the block, and now it's going to be a hardcore track car. So getting back to what we talked about in the beginning of the video, guys, I don't want this video to be horribly long, but there's a lot to talk about. So getting back to what I said at the beginning of the video, should the Camaro guys be scared of this car? Should we be scared of the Mustang GT500 that's coming out in 2020? Yeah, I mean, you know, to just call it what it is, I'm going to say yes. Some of you guys probably go out and do this stuff. Maybe you guys don't. But I've done some Optima events, did a couple of Optima events last year. One that I was sponsored for by Detroit Speed. Thank you very much, Detroit Speed. And one that I sent myself to in Fontana. Went to LS Fest. Went to a couple of different racing events besides that. Did a bunch of autocrossing. And I ran into my fair share of Mustangs and things. And guys, the GT350, the GT350R are both incredibly fast cars. That car is legit. That car is straight up legit. It's hard to argue the fact that that car makes great noises, handles really well, and it's American, which is what we probably all love about it, at least most of you guys watching this channel. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to say that Mustang is something to be, you know, at least keeping it on the radar. It's something you got to think about. I don't think anybody can just dismiss this and go, you know, and there's guys that do. I get it. We're Camaro guys. We don't want to give Ford any credit, but, you know, I see a lot of guys that are like, oh, it's ugly. I don't think it's ugly. I think it's actually sexy. Like, in my opinion, it's the best looking Mustang they've ever made. So if what is on paper turns out to be what is in the pudding, you know, if the proof is in the pudding and the proof is there, I'm going to say this Mustang's legit. I'm looking forward to seeing it come out. Should we be scared of it? I guess that depends on what kind of car you have, and I guess that depends on how much driving skill you have. But if somebody knows how to drive and they get behind the steering wheel of one of these Mustangs, it could be crazy. It could be good. I mean, I see these cars coming out and doing big things. I think I said this already in the video, but I don't see Ford overstating. Ford doesn't seem to be the ones that come out and lie about their claims. You know, Dodge tells everybody their car run crazy times and it doesn't end up doing it. And they got to do what they got to do. I get it. They got to politic a little and try to get people to still spend new car money on a 10-year-old platform. So I kind of understand where they're coming from. And, you know, most of the guys that are buying those cars are diehard Mopar guys anyway. And it really doesn't matter what the car does. It's got a cool name and it's a Dodge. They're buying it. So I think you're going to get a lot of people who are going to buy this Mustang for that same reason. But I also think you're going to get a lot of new blood buying Mustangs. I think you're going to see a lot of people who maybe would have otherwise bought a Camaro or a Challenger. They might go for this car. Price tag, guys, is going to be the big thing. You know, the GT, or not the GT, the Camaro ZL11LE, you know, it can be had for a pretty reasonable price tag. So, you know, if the Mustang is much more than that, I don't think it's going to sell. But based on Ford's philosophy, I think they're going to be smart with it, and they're probably going to price it competitively. I do believe the Camaro has lost to Mustang and Challenger in sales for the last couple of years, due largely in part to pricing. Having driven all the cars, having just gone off of the numbers and understanding of what they are, and just, I don't want to say that I know more than most, but I've had my fair share of experience with these things, and I definitely think that the Camaro's price plays a role in this. So I think Ford, if they're smart anyway, will keep with that philosophy, and they're going to keep this car priced competitively so that they can beat up on the Camaro. Because if this car will do what it's supposed to do, the times are going to be right there with it. So it's going to come out. We're going to find out what happens long run, whether or not these cars it can actually compare. But right now, say what you guys will, the Camaro ZL11LE is the king. It's the car that'll do everything. It's the car that's lapping the Nürburgring faster than any of the other muscle cars. It is definitely just the way to go, especially if you guys are looking to buy something that's track capable. So I think Ford's going to do what they can to take a bite out of Chevy on this one. Maybe Chrysler at some point will get hip to it, try to make the Challenger more of a sports car, or maybe they'll just keep trying to sell their cars based on the old school muscle car platform. You know, with Mustang kind of jumping more into the track car or the cornering car, I think that the Challenger's kind of going to have, it's kind of going to have the game cornered in just the straight line big heavy car thing for as long as they want it with that old platform. So we'll see what happens. But the Ford Mustang GT500, guys, appears to be a winner. You know, I'm looking at this thing and it's hard not to like it. It's hard not to like everything about it. They've done it all, the cooling, the boost, you know, the looks, it looks great. I do think it looks like Ford went to GM design school with all the aero, but you know, it's one of those things where you don't recreate the wheel. If you know what works and you know what aero works and how it's going to do it, you know, as much as you probably don't want to follow any Camaro design cues, you kind of just have to do what works, and it looks like that's what Ford did, and to me, this Mustang looks pissed off. So I'm excited to see where this new Mustang goes. It's all kind of speculation at this point, but I had to throw my hat in there and give you guys my opinion on it, because I know a lot of you guys probably are waiting to see what I think. And I actually did get a couple of questions. Hey, what do you think about the GT500? So thanks again, guys. I always tell you guys to give me ideas for videos. So that was one that somebody hit me with, and I wanted to make a video about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's kind of just a lot of techie, geeky stuff, but we got to keep an eye on our enemy, right? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. The Mustang is the enemy, so I had to keep my eyes on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Keep your eyes open. I got a new video coming very soon, guys. Part 4 of the series of making a monster. How we made my 1,000 horsepower Camaro SS and why I think she's the baddest one out there. We're coming to you with a big video next. We're talking about the engine that's in there, and it's going to be one big video. So it'll be a little longer than my last ones, but the engine in this car is bad to the bone, and so we're going to have to talk about it. So thanks again, guys, for watching. I hope you guys stick around for more. Come back for my next video of making a monster series, talking about my LME forged bottom end. We're going to do that next, and we're going to do that on RedRacer video. So thanks for joining me, guys. Appreciate all the support. You guys have been amazing. Catch you on the next one.